The studio lights blazed against the New York skyline backdrop. A live, nationally televised interview was minutes away. Donald Trump, the sitting president, strode onto the set, greeted by applause and the sly grin of Alex Grant, a sharp-tongued host known for barbed questions and laughter at his guests' expense. Melania Trump sat quietly in the audience. Outwardly serene, inwardly guarded, she knew her husband could handle critics. But she also knew how cruel television could be. "Ladies and gentlemen," Alex said with theatrical flair, "the man who never needs an introduction, Donald Trump." Trump smiled, confident, unshaken by the sarcasm. What no one expected was that the night's defining moment would not come from him, but from Melania, the woman many believed content to remain silent. By the end, her words would silence a nation. The questions began sharp, each one a dagger wrapped in a joke. "You've called yourself the most successful president in history," Alex said, smirking. "But isn't it true you're more performer than politician?" The crowd chuckled. Trump leaned in. "I didn't stumble into politics, Alex. People wanted change. They wanted strength, and they got it." Alex fired back without pause. "Strength or stubbornness? Honestly, Mr. Trump, will history remember you as a leader or just a headline?" Gasps, laughter. Trump stayed firm. History remembers results. Jobs, security, a stronger America. That's more than headlines. But the attacks kept coming. "Mr. Trump," Alex said with mock innocence, "your name is on towers of gold. Tell us, do you ever worry your ego is bigger than your buildings?" The audience roared. Trump smirked. "Confidence isn't ego, it's results." Still, Alex pressed harder, his charm tilting the crowd in his favor. Then came the line that shifted everything. "Some say the only reason people even tolerate you is because of her, Melania, the elegant one. Isn't she the real star?" Laughter thundered. Cameras panned to Melania. "Melania is an incredible first lady. Grace, strength, heart. But don't think that makes me less of a leader." Polite applause. But Melania's eyes hardened. She wasn't offended for herself. She was furious that Alex had turned her into a weapon to mock her husband. She whispered under her breath, "He doesn't know me." The next jab landed squarely on her again. "Mrs. Trump," Alex grinned. "How do you sit through the same lines every day? Do you two rehearse at home like a comedy act?" The laughter was deafening. But this time, Melania sat straighter, her gaze fixed on Alex. The room shifted. The cameras turned. The air stilled. She spoke. "Mr. Grant," she said, her accent deliberate, her tone calm yet cutting. "You think you make people laugh, but laughter at another's expense is not wisdom. It is weakness." The crowd hushed. "You mock my husband because you believe it makes you strong. But strong men do not mock. They build, they protect, they lead." Trump looked at her, surprised, proud. Melania continued, her voice steady, unwavering. "You say people only tolerate him because of me. You misunderstand. I do not make him who he is. He makes himself. I stand beside him, not for fame, not for power, but because of the heart he carries when no one is watching." This was not the distant, glamorous first lady they expected. This was raw, real. "Do you know what it is to be mocked every day?" she asked softly. "To be judged not by who you are, but by what people assume. I do, and still, I am here." The room was silent. Alex fumbled, searching for a comeback. Melania raised a hand, silencing him. "When you use me as a joke, you disrespect not just me, but every woman who chooses strength over words. And when you mock my husband, you mock millions who believe in him." A gasp rippled through the crowd. Then she leaned in, her voice quiet but sharp as glass. "Perhaps the question is not whether history will remember him. Perhaps the question is, how will history remember you?" The silence was deafening. No laughter, no applause lines, just the hum of cameras and the weight of her words. For the first time all night, Alex Grant had nothing to say. The studio buzzed with anticipation, but after Melania Trump spoke, the energy shifted. Trump leaned toward her and whispered, "That was powerful." Melania gave him the faintest smile, her eyes never leaving Alex Grant. The host tried to recover with a quip. But before he could, a woman in the audience stood. "No," she said firmly. "She's right." The room stilled. All eyes turned to her. "People laugh at him," the woman continued, her voice shaking but strong. "But at least he sits there and takes it. Could any of us face the whole world waiting for us to slip and still hold our ground?" Applause began soft at first, then swelling. Something had cracked. Not just Alex's confidence, but the audience's assumptions. Alex forced a smile, but the control he thrived on was gone. For the first time, the spotlight wasn't his. It was Melania's. He tried again. "Mrs. Trump, I admit that was moving. But people still wonder if your husband divides more than he unites." Melania met his gaze. "Division does not come from one man, Mr. Grant. Division comes when people refuse to listen. Tonight, you wanted laughs. But laughter without truth only divides further." The audience clapped. Trump leaned forward, steady. "Alex, I've taken criticism my whole life. But leadership isn't about avoiding critics. It's about standing firm when you're outnumbered." Alex shot back. "So you enjoy being mocked?" Trump chuckled. "No, I'm saying mockery doesn't build anything." Melania added softly. "Results do, and respect does." The laughter was gone. The audience was listening. Melania drew a breath, her voice gentler now. "When I was a girl in Slovenia, I was told to be quiet, to stay in the background. But life has a way of surprising us. I learned silence can be strength, but only if you speak when it matters." The crowd leaned in. People see a man who is loud, bold, unafraid. "But at home, I see the man who cares when a child writes him a letter, who loses sleep when a soldier's family grieves, who worries for a farmer struggling with his land. These things don't make headlines, but they are real." Applause genuine. Warm rose through the studio. Trump sat quietly, pride softening his expression. For once, he didn't interrupt. He simply listened. Melania rested a hand on his arm. "The world sees him one way, but I see the man who gives without cameras, who comforts without speeches." The clapping grew louder. Trump leaned closer, whispering, "You've said more in 5 minutes than I've said in 5 years." She smiled faintly. Alex, visibly rattled, muttered, "Well, Mrs. Trump, you certainly surprised us tonight." Melania nodded. Sometimes the quietest voices carry the loudest truth. The audience erupted in applause, not for Alex, for her. What was meant as a spectacle to humiliate, Trump had become something else entirely, a moment of dignity. Clips spread online within minutes. But this time, people weren't mocking. They were stunned. "I've never heard her like this. She's right, mockery isn't leadership." Respect to Melania for standing up. For once, the trending story wasn't division, it was unity. Backstage, Alex stormed into his dressing room. She stole the show. His producer sighed. "You pushed too far. You underestimated her." Meanwhile, Trump and Melania walked calmly toward their car. "Mrs. Trump, why speak now?" a reporter shouted. Melania paused, because silence has limits. And when truth is mocked, silence becomes weakness. The quote dominated headlines by morning. Later that night, Alex sat alone, replaying the interview. His smirks looked hollow. Melania's words echoed. "How will history remember you?" For the first time, he felt ashamed. His career had been built on sarcasm. But tonight, laughter had rung empty. Scrolling through comments, he saw viewers praising her hand, criticizing him. He sighed. Maybe she was right. In the car, Trump turned to his wife. "You didn't just shut him down. You made him think." "Maybe," Melania said softly. "But thinking is the first step to change." "You're tougher than me sometimes," Trump chuckled. "Not tougher," she replied. "Just quieter. People don't expect quiet to carry power. That is their mistake." A week later, Alex opened his show differently. Last week, he said, "I thought mocking someone made me strong. I was wrong. A guest's wife, no, not even a guest, showed me that strength isn't mockery. It's respect." The audience sat stunned, then clapped softly for the first time. Alex listened more than he spoke. Days later, a handwritten letter arrived at the White House. Addressed to Melania, "Dear Mrs. Trump," it read, "I want to thank you. You made me realize my voice should lift people, not tear them down. Last week, I saw myself through your eyes and I didn't like what I saw. You were right. History won't remember us for our jokes, but for our respect. I will do better, Alex." Grant Melanian folded the letter carefully. Trump raised his brows. He actually wrote that. She nodded. Sometimes words can do what anger never could. Trump grinned. You changed him. No, she said quietly. He chose to change. I only reminded him he could. Months later, she spoke at a leadership conference. Leadership is not always about speaking the loudest, Melania told the crowd. Sometimes it is about listening. Sometimes it is about knowing when to stay silent. And sometimes it is about knowing when silence becomes weakness. She paused. In a world where it is easy to mock, let us choose respect, because laughter fades. Respect builds. The audience rose in a standing ovation. The interview was remembered not for the jokes, but for the night Melania Trump spoke. It was replayed in classrooms, quoted in speeches, and shared endlessly. Trump often joked, "They came to mock me, but they left respecting you." And Melania, ever calm, would only smile because she knew the truth. Power doesn't always come from the loudest voice. It comes from the right words, spoken at the right time. Respect is stronger than mockery. And that truth would echo long after the laughter was gone.